know me, I love talking about the nitty-gritty side of prison and crime and that street life, all of it, but there's gotta be a redemption side to the story. And the interview that I'm doing today with my dude Chad Marks from Blood on the Razorwire is exactly that, man. This dude has turned his life around. He has done an amazing 180, and he is now helping people in the community and back in prison to be able to get that second chance so that they can do the same, which is mad inspirational to me personally on a human level. And if it's your first time watching one of my full-length videos, let me introduce myself real quick. My name is JD. I was a 20-year addict and career criminal, man. I went to prison in the state of Oregon for 39 months for UUMV times 3. That's basically Oregon's verbiage for Grand Theft Auto. I did my time. I got out. I didn't learn my lesson. Prison did not rehabilitate me, man. I didn't stop doing crimes and doing the substances until 2019. And my life-changing moment was when the Secret Service and the SWAT team ran up on me in a parking lot in Port St. Lucie, Florida at the Hilton Garden Inn, threw me down on my face on that hot pavement, and I was facing organized fraud and counterfeiting. And another county threw a whole mess of other charges at me. But an amazing, beautiful thing happened while I was out on bond on pre-trial fighting the case, man. I found recovery. And then COVID happened, and it bought me 20 months out on the streets while they weren't taking things into in-person court dates to be able to prove myself to the courts and to myself. And recovery gave me the passion that has driven my life ever since, man. Today, I am a recovery coach. I own my own business in recovery coaching. I'm a peer support specialist. I'm a smart recovery facilitator, and I have 2 community outreaches that help service Volusia County, Florida, one for distribution of Narcan and one to get mental health services for those in early recovery who cannot afford them. And I also own my very own clothing line, Convict Clothing, which is out here trying to show people that your past does not define your future and who you have to be or who you are today. So let's get up on into this. Let's go! Hey everybody, welcome. Today I have a very special guest, man. He is a YouTube superstar right here with us. We got Chad Marks from Blood on the Razorwire, and I'm not going to get into this dude's story, man. I'm going to let him tell it himself, but this dude has a phenomenal story. You guys are going to want to stay tuned for this. Chad, welcome to the show, man. I appreciate having you here today.
I appreciate you bringing me on, bro.
Right on, my man. So we've been talking for a little bit, so I kind of know a little bit of your story. Also, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I watch your content when it comes across my screen, and I'm always impressed, dog. So let's start out with the bad, bro. Let's get the history. Let's run the resume of how you got to be where you are today.
All right. So I mean, growing up as a kid, I grew up in Rochester, New York. My father was a drug addict. Eventually he died getting high. Left the house when I was 2 or 3 years old, shot at me and my mother with a 12-gauge shotgun. We got away. He ends up leaving, goes to Las Vegas, ends up with a lady that was my mother's friend, and he has a different relationship over there and has a daughter. But me and my mom, my little sister, were stuck together. Growing up poor, tough neighborhood, place called Ghost Town in Rochester. Eventually, I ended up selling drugs at around 13 or 14 years old. And that escalates. At 16, I go to state prison in New York. I ended up getting a 2 to 6. Go to prison, come home. That was for an assault second. Come home. I'm home, I don't know, maybe 10 months. I catch a violation. I do 22 months and 12 days on that violation. Come home, and 14 months later, I'm all the way involved in the drug game, catch a conspiracy case with 2 924Cs. The feds arrest me, and I end up going to trial. I lose and end up with a 40-year sentence. So now your people are probably like 40-year sentence, and he's out here talking. I end up doing about 17 years, 5 months, and 21 days. Trump passes what's called the First Step Act. I get out on that. My judge reevaluates my sentence, and he ends up letting me out, and I'm here now.
Oh, damn. So what were you selling back then?
I ended up catching a crack cocaine conspiracy.
Okay, so you got 40 years for selling crack. What type of weight were you caught with?
So when they end up busting us, right, they catch 3 kilos, they catch 125 grams of crack, 10 pounds of weed, a couple vests, a couple guns. But I get banged because the law back then, well, it just recently changed, was your mandatory minimum is 10 for the drugs, 5 for the first gun, 25 for the second gun. So they would stack these 924C charges, right? Well, they just changed that. They said, look, this isn't what we intended. We intended for it to be a recidivist enhancement. You go to jail, let's say you get 15 years. You get 10 for the drugs, 5 for the gun. You didn't learn your lesson. You get out. Now you get a second gun. So that's what the intention was. The 25 was for the second gun. But what law enforcement would do was they'd let you run. They'd bust a house, not take you to jail, bust another house. So now they got them 2 guns. Now they got the 30 years. So they would put them all in the same indictment so they could blaze you, man. And my mandatory minimum was 40.
Man, that's dirty. That's dirty game right there. I'm glad that they did something about that. So it was Trump who passed that?
It was Trump. He passed that First Step Act, which gave judges the power to decide if there's extraordinary and compelling reasons to reduce the sentence. While I was in prison, I was a jailhouse lawyer. I wrote the first article about it. I also wrote the first compassionate release for a guy named Conrado Cantu. He was a former sheriff in Texas, former mayor. He had about, I think it was 24 years. I told him, hey, I think I'm right about this, man. He was a real good dude, man. Honestly, bro, he was a Christian, turned his life around. And I was like, I think I'm right, man. You want to try it? He's like, let's try it, fool. And I was like, all right, man, we'll try it. We'll give it a shot. And we wrote it. And I put it in there. And we won. And since then, thousands and thousands of people have gotten out on it. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, lawyers and other people have made it better. I was sitting in prison. I had limited access to what I could use. They've made the argument better. And thousands of people have gotten out on compassionate release because of the First Step Act passed under Trump and what they put in there.
That's amazing, bro. So you kind of lit the spark for that fire right there.
I definitely lit the spark. And eventually that's how I would be released.
That's so cool, man, that it went full circle like that. So while you were in prison, what type of prison were you at?
Well, my first federal prison was USP Big Sandy, definitely a dangerous place. I actually wrote a book about it called Blood on the Razorwire. That's the little thing behind me. It was a violent place. It was a dangerous place. Some people think federal prison, they think, oh man, the feds are great. It's not Camp Good Day special times. People are murdered there on a regular basis. Just had a couple murders in Beaumont. I think there was just a recent murder in USP McCrary. But Big Sandy was a place where murder was pretty prevalent. Stabbings 2-3 times a day. Maybe, we might go 5 days with a stabbing every single day. It's definitely a dangerous place and not a place that anybody really wants to be.
So we're getting quite a contrast here. I haven't gotten to be able to talk to too many federal, inmates on this channel. I did talk to Larry Lawton, who gave us some great insights, but largely we've talked with Ian Bick on here, who did go to the cupcake camps. So this is definitely really cool for my viewers to be able to see the other side of going feds, because I always grew up in the game with people telling me, dude, you want to do that fed time. Fed's way better than the state. And you've done both, correct?
Yeah, I've done both, New York State and feds. And I can tell you that state prison couldn't hold a match to federal prison.
Yeah, absolutely. I get told a lot that because I did my time in Oregon, that the prison time that I did was like, oh, that's soft time, bro. You ain't shit. That's soft time. I'm like, bro, I'm not trying to do the hardest time. I got told that I was throwing up rookie numbers with my time in prison. Bro, I didn't think we were trying to collect it. I didn't think this was Pokemon cards, dog. I was trying to get in and out as quick as possible. I like it on the streets. But you definitely did some serious numbers. What did you serve altogether? 20?
It's 17 years, 5 months, 21 days on a 40-year mandatory minimum.
Man, that's wild, brother. That's wild. So did you see a lot of violent stuff in there?
Like I said, man, violence is an everyday occurrence in a maximum security prison. My first day at USP Big Sandy, which was probably the most dangerous federal prison at that time, as soon as I get there, these white dudes smash this other white dude that's trying to press another white dude for, some sexual favors, I guess. And he actually, he goes to the people. He's like, look, man, this dude's trying to press me. So they pound him out. And I'm just walking down. I just get to the prison. I'm walking down the hallway. They're like, get on the wall. We're all on the wall. Drop your mattress. And we see this dude coming by on the stretcher. And then I see these other 3 dudes who actually are my homeboys and I would later meet. They kind of give me the nod, like, what's up, man? You're new, you're white, giving you that nod. But they go to the hole. Eventually they get out. And then once I get to the unit, this black dude from New York slaps the CO that night. And the CO, dude, this is the wildest thing I've ever, not the wildest thing, but probably, maybe to a certain extent, not the most violent, but wildest. Where the fuck do the inmates slap the cops? And the cop says, what did I do? What did I do? And I'm like, yeah, we're definitely in danger. Then all the New York dudes surround the cop. And the cop's just asking what he did wrong. Like, where does this really happen at? You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. I had a cellie at OSP who had gone in, and I think he was originally going in on like it's either 39 or like 70 months. It was something, you know, it wasn't like nothing, but it wasn't something. And I was celled up with him on his like 13th year in prison. Because he never got out. He just assaulted staff on a regular basis. Like they would get lippy with him and he just assault him. Like after I moved out, about 2 months after I moved out of that cell to get tattoos from another dude in another cell, he ended up catching a whole nother case because he stabbed a prison coordinator. This prison coordinator got mouthy with him and he stabbed this dude like 6-7 times. I don't think the dude's ever going to get out, bro. Like it really does go down like that sometimes in prison.
I seen another dude, man, where they sent this dude up top, told me he had to go up top. That means go to protective custody. Yo, we don't want you here. You violated, or we don't want you, whatever. He was a blood. They send him up top at USP Lee, right? And then the cops come by and like, hey, you got to go back to the compound, man. You're down there 2-3 weeks. They do a threat assessment, and they act like, oh, you're good, man. You can go back out. And dude's like, man, I don't want to go back out. They're like, you're going back out. So he makes a knife. He goes back out on the compound, and his homeboys tell him, hey, man, and this dude had like 90 days left to go home. Not the dude that went up top. He had a 20-year sentence. He tells him, hey, man, you got to go. He's like, man, I'm staying out here. And he's like, man, I told you, man, you're going back up top. Dude pulls out the knife and hits him in the chest. When he stabs him in the chest, he hits him in the heart. The dude jumps back, puts his hands up, and he's like, oh, what's up? Oh, you stabbed me? Like he's getting ready to fight. And he's talking, bro, and then he falls, man. And that's it. His life is over. Forever gone. 90 days to go home and lost his life by trying to, make this kid go up top or stay up top.
Yeah, man, it doesn't, when you're trying to PC somebody up, when you're trying to make someone check in, it doesn't always go the way you think it's going to go, man. Like I've seen rats that had heart and hands, bro. And I've seen pedophiles with serious hands, bro. I watched 2 dudes went up on this pedophile and he was kind of a big dude, man. And they thought it was going to be easy. They thought they'd steamroll over this dude. This dude mashed both of them out, bro. Like eventually the 2 dudes started like coming up on the dude, and I got there as quick as I could, man. I ended up mashing this dude in the face a couple times with my shoes. Fuck my brand new shoes up too, man. I was kind of bummed out about that. Got blood all over them, but sometimes it doesn't go as easy as you think it's going to go when you're trying to put someone in the box, man. We talked earlier in an interview that I did for your channel a little bit about how Oregon's like state prison politics went with sex offenders, and you seemed kind of genuinely shocked that they still get to walk the yard with paying and getting protected. I mean, we still fuck them up and everything. How does that run in the feds? Because you said it was a lot different.
I mean, in a maximum security prison, in federal prison, it's not going to work out. They're not keeping them there to extort them. They're not doing none of that stuff, man. They're putting their lights out. You got guys that volunteer like, bro, I got it. He's from New York, I'm getting him. If he's from Texas, I'm signing up, bro. I'm ready. And, a lot of times it's these dudes that got 8-9 years, bro, and they're willing to go stab these dudes, man. Like, no problem. So a sex offender is not going to live at a maximum security federal prison unless they're at a special needs yard, which they have a few. They got USP Tucson now, which that's changed over the last 10 years, I think. USP Coleman too, they have some. But in a maximum security prison, and with regular dudes, they're not surviving. They're not living there. They won't be there long enough to get extorted. None of that. Now, when you get down to lower security levels, depending on where you're at, an FCI, a medium security federal prison, sometimes they'll just beat you up. They'll tell you got to go. And then if you don't go, they beat you up. But there are prisons that have them. There are medium security prisons where them dudes live their life. But most of them are at lows. And eventually I would go to a low. My last 9 months, I would be at a low. And it's flooded. And I'll give you an example. Like I was in FMC Lexington, Federal Medical Center Lexington. There was this dude that kept coming. They got their own chow hall too. Like you guys sit in this chow hall, regular dudes sit in this one. And we got this white dude that he keeps coming to the wrong chow hall. And dude's like, yo, bro, I told you, don't come here, man. Even though this is a low, you can't eat here. And one day, man, this dude hits this dude with an apple, bro. I mean, like a hardball, fast pitch, boom, hits him, boom, knocks the shit out of him. And he's sitting at the table and he goes, ah! How when you were little, maybe your mom would spank you or your dad, you'd start crying like that.
Yeah.
I mean, he just started bawling, and then he was like, and then he got up, and pretty much, man, he didn't come back to that. He didn't eat in that chow hall no more, man. But it's vicious. And then at the low, like, you had a lot of these dudes on K2, man. So they were robbing these Chomos, dude. They were stealing everything they had, dude. They go to work. A lot of them work at Unicorn. Most of them play Dungeons and Dragons at night. whenever they went to Unicor, which is the factory where they went to Dungeons and Dragons, these dudes would wipe out their whole lockers, dude. This is a prison where they would take your locker. They put it on a dolly. You might be living on the third floor. They would take your locker out of your room, because over there they're rooms, and they would take your locker all the way down to the first floor and bust it open and take everything you got. You come back and won't even have a locker anymore. And eventually they started trying to get smart, and they started like putting all these cords and these padlocks on their stuff, and they were hooking it up where people weren't able to get their stuff off. But dudes would steal your fan, your radio, your food, anything you got.
Okay, so that's wild to me, because I am always talking on this channel about how like a lot of the Chomos that I met in prison, that I saw in prison, like they wanted to play fucking Dungeons and Dragons. And I get a lot of people in my community on YouTube that are like, bro, let up on Dungeons and Dragons. Why you got to talk about Dungeons and Dragons and Chomo? Because it's real life, dog. Like that's what they doing. You find them in there in the TV room in the minimums, and they all be watching cartoons together. You know what I'm saying? Like they be playing Dungeons and Dragons. They be doing wild shit like that.
Dude, they live a lot of them dudes live a fantasy life, You had dudes over there where I remember there was an instance where they have all these photocopied naked pictures, right? They've been floating around the jail for years. Photocopies of like a Hustler magazine. Dudes would get one in and then they'd photocopy it and sell them, sell all the photocopies. Where these dudes were actually cutting pictures of kids out of clothing things and putting their faces on these, naked women, bro. There's some sick individuals. People don't realize that these dudes they got some real issues, man.
Yeah. So I was really heartened, man. I'm going to be really honest with you, to hear what you said it's like for them at the maximum security facilities in the feds. That made my day, bro, because when I went into the prison system in Oregon, I thought that's the time we were on. But, I got there and I'm short timer straight from the gate. 39 months. It's not nothing, but it's not a long time, bro. I'm a tourist. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to rewrite the fucking playbook doing 39 months. And I didn't agree with the politics on it. I agree more with the federal politics on it. So it really made my day to hear that. But if you could do me a favor, man, tell everybody what you've been doing since you got out of prison, because I'm really, truly inspired by the man that you are today and the work that you do.
So when I got out of prison, probation told me right away, hey, you got to get a job. I said, look, I'm not getting a job. I am the job. I started a paralegal and prison consultant firm, Freedom Fighters, which I do really well at. I've helped over 100 men and women get out of prison. Like I said earlier, I wrote that first compassionate release motion. Since then, I think I've got 5 dudes that had life sentences out. I have 2 females that have life sentences. Their cases are in and pending right now, which I'm hopeful that that's going to work out. I've recently got a guy sentenced who I hope to bring on, Jeremiah Kirby, former SAC member, soldier of Aryan Culture, Chaos. I just got his sentence reduced, got him released. Had a 32-year sentence that I worked with the Federal Defender's Office on. Got that reduced to 17. So, we're getting people out of prison. But also I had started that YouTube channel, Blood on the Razorwire TV. And the mission is to save kids from life imprisonment and premature death in the streets through our stories and experiences. And your good buddy Ian Bick asked me, what do you think about people that say, prison channels glorify prison? Sometimes you got to give people the violence in order to give them the message, right? And I explained that to Ian. So we're not glorifying prison, but we're giving you the true stories. But in every video that we do, we give you a message, man. So I'm doing that. Also been out in the community that I helped destroy. Been going out here and talking to a lot of these women, man, a lot of these prostitutes, feeding them, giving them water, offering rehab. No one's taking me up on it. I think I got one lady that's about ready. She has my number, and I'm hoping that she calls me this week, and we're going to try to get her in there. She used to own 2 businesses. She was a rapper in my city. She's got 3 kids that are devastated by what she's doing, but she's the one that I'm hoping is going to call me and say, Chad, I'm ready today. And hopefully we'll be able to, not to exploit it, but we should put it on camera so that other people can say, look, man, I thought, in the condition that she was from that first video, that she would never end up doing this. So that's what we're doing, man, at Blood on the Razorwire TV.
That's amazing, man. I relate so much to what you're doing today, as far as we have a similar path and a similar mission, as far as to try to keep people from going down the same road that we went down. I know you went a lot harsher of a road than I went down, man, but I don't see these youngsters do none of it. And I get these comments from people that I'm glorifying prison, and I'm like, no, what is honestly wrong with you? If you think this is glorification, maybe seek help, professional help, not me either, not a recovery coach. If you hear stories of extreme violence and living in inhumane conditions and just constant suffering, and you're like, damn, man, I wish that was me. That's a you problem, dog. Like, I'm trying to speak to people so that they don't go down that road, and I think you do an incredibly good job at that. And I think that we could see a markable difference in your community because you're out here doing what you do, man. So I thank you for that. I want to encourage everybody to go subscribe to Blood on the Razorwire TV, man. Like, I mean, the man speaks for himself. It's undeniable, Chad, that you are a force to be reckoned with. And I really appreciate you coming on this channel into our community and speaking to everybody and sharing your experience and your hope and your strength with us, dog.
I definitely appreciate you, man. And, even me talking to you, I'm not great on all the technology stuff, but you offered to help me, dude. And you know what, man? You're a really good dude. And I'm not just saying that. I didn't know, bro. When I first seen you, I seen the tattoos and, the skit you did with Ian. I'm like, this dude was probably a pretty serious dude, which I'm sure you are. But I didn't know that you were going to be as cool as you are, bro. And for real, man, you're a pretty cool dude. And I appreciate you. And I appreciate what you're doing, man.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. Honestly, my life is all about community and having the best impact on the world around me that I possibly can today. And when I see somebody doing the things that you're doing, it honestly inspires me and it makes me want to go harder with it. You know what I'm saying? So thank you for being my inspiration for the day, brother. I hope that we can work together in the future and that you'll contact me anytime that I can be of service, man. To all of my viewers out there, man, I appreciate you riding out with us again. You already know what time it is. Be good or be good at it, baby.